I'm joined now by Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, who is working with D.C. officials to challenge the Trump administration's takeover. Good morning to you, Senator. Let's go back to the additional National Guard that is being sent in here, 750 from Republican-led states. What's your reaction to that?
Well, Martha, all of this is a total abuse of power. It's a manufactured emergency. If you wanted to see an emergency in Washington, D.C., that was back on January 6, 2021, when President Trump did nothing to deploy the National Guard on time. Here, obviously, D.C. can do more to reduce violent crime, as we can across the country. But as you pointed out, crime in D.C. is at a 30-year low and a downward trajectory. So this is all an opportunity for Donald Trump to play dictator in Washington, D.C. Instead, he should be releasing, along with the House Republicans, the $1 billion, $1 billion in money that belongs to the people of D.C. that they're holding, that D.C. could use to hire more police.
Well, let's talk about that. You call it this power grab, a move of a dictator. But the way the law is written, it appears he has the legal authority, and Mayor Bowser conceded that. So what is the abuse of power here?
The abuse of power is claiming that this is an emergency. And everybody who's watching what happens knows that this is not an emergency in Washington, D.C. So he is using this technical provision in the law, but I would argue clearly he's abusing it to manufacture this emergency. And now he has 30 days in which he can act. At that time, of course, in order to continue to act, he needs Congress to extend it.
The mayor suggested this week that the surge of federal police could be useful in fighting crime. And there is a crime problem in D.C. We all live here. I want to play you something that D.C.'s police chief Pamela Smith said this week.
You're talking about 500 additional personnel in the District of Columbia. And as you know, we've talked about the fact that we're down in numbers with our police officers. And so this enhanced presence clearly is going to impact us in a positive way.
So do you see anything positive about this?
Well, I understand the position the police chief is in. The best way to help the police chief in Washington, D.C. is for President Trump and Republicans in Congress to give them the $1 billion in money that belongs to them so that they can hire those police rather than bringing in these federal agents. I would also say, Martha, I would think that taxpayers all over the country, federal taxpayers, have to ask themselves how it is that we are using resources, national resources, the FBI, the DEA, folks who are supposed to be out and about protecting the country from violent criminals, and now they're spending their time taking down tents of homeless people in the District of Columbia. I would think people all over the country would worry about that diversion of resources.
And now reportedly the National Guard could be armed.
Well, that's very troubling because, as you know, the National Guard, first of all, is not supposed to engage in any local law enforcement activity. We have the Posse Comitatus Act that prohibits them from engaging in local law enforcement. And so I'm not sure what it is that they need to do where they need to be armed.
The president insists he's going to maintain control of D.C. police past the 30-day limit, no matter what Congress does. So then what do you do?
Well, that clearly is a violation of the statute, and so we'll end up right back in court. Of course, the president also thought he had the ability to essentially take out the police chief and have his people come in and run the police department. A federal judge already said that that was not authorized. And in the same way, his ability to extend it beyond 30 days is not authorized. And so they're going to have to pass this statute in this extension in the Congress. And I don't think that that's going to pass.
I'd like to move to the summit, if you will. You're on the Foreign Relations Committee. You watched that summit, I'm sure. What is your reaction to what happened?
Well, Martha, there's no sugarcoating this. Donald Trump once again got played by Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin got the red carpet treatment on American soil, but we got no ceasefire, no imminent meeting between Putin and Zelensky. All the threatened sanctions that, Donald Trump talked about apparently have been set aside. Donald Trump got flattered by Vladimir Putin, but when it comes to Ukraine and our European allies, this was a setback. I do believe that Congress now, the Senate in particular, should move forward on bipartisan legislation that has over 60 senators as co-sponsors that would impose sanctions on Russia and Vladimir Putin.
And we'll see whether that happens. But just very quickly, aren't personal relations important?
Personal relations are important, and I have no objection to people talking, but you want to have a clear objective in mind. Clearly, Vladimir Putin had a clear objective in mind, and he came to Alaska and gave up nothing, whereas, Donald Trump said he had hoped to do, ceasefire. He'd hoped to fly in Zelensky, maybe even while Vladimir Putin was there. None of that happened. And meanwhile, they've taken the pressure off the sanctions. I mean, again, Donald Trump was supposed to impose sanctions on Russia weeks ago now, and nothing. So this was a victory for Vladimir Putin.